Hello, I'm Toycat, and as of summer 2025, British citizens are going to have to pay a €7 EU visa waiver fee if they want to enter the European Union. This is something which obviously EU countries don't have to pay to enter each other, and so it's being lauded by all sorts of British tabloids as a Brexit tax. Lots of websites are getting you mad about this because the EU wants to charge us just because we left, except actually, obviously this is for all non-EU countries, and fascinatingly enough, it's actually one of the latest and cheapest schemes to come out. All sorts of countries around the world, including the UK, by the way, but obviously the most famous example is the ESTA from the United States. All sorts of countries are trying exactly this same system, but the question is why, what does it achieve, and what does it do to the concept of visa-free travel? And the long story short on that is visa-free now means visa fee. The idea that you can just travel to another country is slowly becoming more limited, and let's talk about why and how. So yeah, this waiver is going to cover travel to the Schengen area, which is every EU member state except for Ireland and Cyprus. Ireland has a travel arrangement with the UK, and Cyprus has, how do we explain this one besides saying half a country right now? So basically every other EU country, and also Iceland, Norway, Liechtenstein, Switzerland, all of these countries are going to be covered by the scheme, and so if you want to travel from Finland to Spain, from Hungary to Iceland, you need one of these visa waivers, which makes it pretty good value if you think about it. It covers 30 countries as opposed to the Canadas or the UK's one, and so let's come back into this for a second, because the fee is actually really low. The EU Commission even says that €7 is way cheaper, that's a funny quote, than the US ESTA, which costs $21, which is about 2.5 times as much. And yeah, this fee will apply from anyone between the ages of 18 and 70. This is fascinating that it's free for children over 70s. Why is that the case? I need to come back to that later, but the United States just charges everyone inside of a family, whereas the EU is only charging adults, which seems like it defeats the point here. But anyway, the thing is, they haven't actually said exactly when it's starting. They're just saying sometime in 2025. The first half vaguely, but that keeps on changing over time, and so we can assume by summer 2025 it's going to be impacted, but we still don't know for sure. Why is the scheme being introduced? The EU says it will strengthen security checks on those persons who travel visa-free to the EU. In other words, countries around the world, so this is the exact same thing that the United States says, you need to request a travel authorization, which is your ESTA, and it still means that you can travel visa-free. If you look at any country, it's still, you're traveling to the United States and the UK, traveling between the two is still going to be visa-free, but you need to fill out a visa waiver. So, the concept of a visa, if you're not familiar, is instead of being able to just travel freely to a country, British citizens can travel freely to the UK when they want, if they're overseas, and we can also travel freely in the common travel area, but also a lot of countries agree that are on similar levels that you can travel freely between them. You can travel freely between the United States and Canada if you don't have criminal convictions, etc. And so the idea of a visa is for some countries, so the United States requires this from Mexican citizens or from Namibian citizens, there's a little bit more risk at play, and so you fill out in advance why you want to go, and then you pay a fee for that, and then you can get to go to the country. So basically all sorts of Western countries have these visa-free systems with each other where we say, oh yeah, we don't need a visa from you, we trust you because you trust us. It's a great mutual agreement, except with the introduction of the ESTA, which was the first in the world as the first modern system of this type, basically you still are going to the you still get to travel visa-free, but if you don't want to travel with a visa, you need a visa waiver. So a visa waiver, it's like this, right? You fill out a form, you say why you want to travel, you fill out all sorts of invasive details like whether you've committed genocide. Sounds like a joke, but is very real, by the way. I always have to make sure I hit the no box because I know it doesn't cover Minecraft genocides. Anyway, the important thing is that you have to be you have to fill out your box saying you haven't committed genocide, and then you get to travel if you pay your $21. $4 of that is a processing fee. You pay this whether or not you're successful, and if you're approved to travel, you pay $17, which is just hilarious, right? Like, so once they've proven you're safe to travel, they ask for $17 just because. Ultimately, that's it. You can actually find out the reason they do this is that so again, here's the fun thing: a family of 4 has to pay $84, but the reason they say this is that $17 of this money goes to a fund to promote US tourism. The money that they use, just to clarify, $4 is the fee to actually get it done. $17, that is $68 for a family of 4, goes to promote US tourism, which they write on the money saving expert here, they say is ironic because a better way to promote US tourism would be not to charge people who want to visit, except weirdly enough, US tourism numbers show you can charge people access and then use that money to advertise, and that is somehow a better system than not charging people to enter. And so what has happened? Well, other countries around the world have started similar schemes. Canada was, I believe, the first to follow. I've only been traveling intercontinentally since like 2016 or so, ever since Norwegian started their $99 flights. My first flight to Canada required one of these, or it was semi-optional, and then it became fully forced. So somewhere in that period, and then funnily enough, again, I'm as soon as I go somewhere in the world, the nationalities are like, ooh, we can't be letting the riffraff in like this. And so just as soon as I went to New Zealand, they also, I think they'd started it like that week. So when I booked the flight, they didn't require a New Zealand ETA. But by the time I was traveling, the airport lady's like, you don't have your New Zealand ETA? You better fill that out right now. Your flight leaves in 3 hours. But the New Zealand ETA also costs $17 if you use their free app. This is the freakiest one of all. I found this out just while researching this video. You know how some websites are like, oh yeah, just so you know, you can get a little discount if you sign up for our app, like Temu level logic. The New Zealand government says that. They're like, yeah, $23 if you use our website like a boring person, but give us access to your phone and an app, and we'll give you a $6 discount. Why is a government giving me a discount for having an app on my phone? I really want to know. Anyway, the other fun thing is that they charge this money, and they use this, as they say, by the way, also, there's a $35 IVL fee, but they use this money to fund tourism infrastructure and protect the natural environment. In other words, also, let's quickly find out if, let's go to, let's see what the price is. I'm a citizen from the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. I am, it's really annoying that, like, you have to type basically the same, enter your passport number as it appears, 555-666-777. It's 2032 June. There we go. That's good. Traveler details. Just tell me what the fee is. Okay, it's not going to do it very easily. But the point here is to say that you have to pay money to visit these countries. And so the last example is the UK. Right now, we only do it for these countries, the Middle East, where we just assume they're the least price sensitive in the world. But basically, lots of countries are going to require an ETA to visit the UK soon, which is the same thing as the system here. Basically, countries all around the world are saying, oh yeah, borders are kind of porous, huh? Like, anyone can just get on a flight. So this is the crazy thing, right? If you get on a flight and you land in the UK, even if you got on that flight with illegitimate means, if you then claim asylum and you have a good enough reason that the UK government can't prove that you aren't, fleeing a threat from your home country, then, oh no, guess what? You're in the country now, which means there are all sorts of reasons for people to get to the European Union too. They have clarified that the reason they want to do this is in response to the migrant crisis and concerns over terrorism. It is really easy with the advent of commercial flights and with visa-free travel for basically anyone to get anywhere. It used to be quite, in my lifetime, I've seen the price of flying to the United States go from this like $1,000 return thing to like, oh yeah, you can fly $99 flights if you're on the right weekend. I have seen the price of flights to Asia go from, oh yeah, once in a lifetime, or like maybe if your honeymoon or something like that, to like, oh yeah, there's I recently booked flights with some friends to in a 5-star hotel in Kuala Lumpur, and including the flights there and the hotel for a week, it was £500. And it's like, man, that you wouldn't get a hotel in the UK for that price, let alone flights to another continent. The price of travel is going down, and that means the riffraff like me are coming in, and more seriously, countries are concerned about the equivalent of me, but from other parts of the world which have official access to the country, but maybe aren't necessarily what they're going for. And so the ESTA system, 99% of travelers get one just fine, but that 1%, instead of having to deal with them in the US, where US laws are followed and all that stuff, you can deal with them overseas. Europe is looking to do a similar thing, and so too is the UK. But I just want to quickly share that everyone complains about Europe's the most, because I think the European Union system is a continent-wide system, basically. It's going to affect a lot of people traveling to all sorts of places, like I mentioned, Finland down to Spain. But the most interesting one has to be the UK. And so, I think £10 is a reasonable fee. Again, compared to $17 if you download the app and $35 when you get there. I think outside of Canada, by the way, Canada only charges Canadian $7. Do you know what Canadian $7 is? And let me 7 CAD to GBP. It's look at that. It is nothing. I just want to. I want to do it on Google. There we go. It's about £3.92 or about $5. Wow. Good job, Canada. Your currency's doing well right now. $5.18. It's really, really, really cheap. to go to Canada compared to some other countries, which is great. But the UK is the second cheapest, and the UK's ETA is fascinating because we're going to be applying it not just to all of these places, so every EU member state plus Andorra, Israel, Paraguay, South Korea, Japan, you know, every country that can visit us visa-free, more or less, will have to pay our £10 fee to get in, even if they're transiting here, which is bad because Heathrow is one of the biggest transit points in the world. Something like 1 in 3 passengers come to London Heathrow and then just jump on another plane and never actually see the UK, which is interesting to me because that means that a lot of people come to the UK exclusively are in the borough of Hounslow and then think that that's what the UK looks like. And if you know, no wonder we have such a bad international reputation. Anyway, the point here is to say is that if you look into the UK scheme, we're actually going to be charging one of these for British nationals, overseas citizens. I think this is just Hong Kong. Yeah, the former colony of Hong Kong. British overseas citizens. This is people who live in the what would have been the British Empire, but is still kind of like a holdover, former British colonies. So there's quite a few of these around the world, and you know, they charge us to enter their country, but it's still weird to do it in reverse. But still, British subjects with right of abode in the UK. Oh wait, sorry, British protected persons is an even more bizarre nationality we have. People who are from the former protectorates and territorial mandates and trusts. We have so many classes of citizens, and so British citizens can enter the UK. British subjects, British overseas territories citizens, not to be mistaken with overseas citizens, overseas territory citizens, and also Irish citizens. So yeah, fun fact, my girlfriend is technically speaking from Ireland, and so does not have to use this. You know, has an Irish passport, I should say. And whereas if you were a British overseas citizen or a British national but was overseas, then you would have to pay this £10 fee, which is just kind of nutty. Anyway, I wanted to talk about ETAs. It's one of the fascinating things about travel, and as you know, I love to talk about travel on this channel. And now you know a part of the reason why. Speaking of a part of the reason why, have you noticed the one thing all of these countries have in common besides, you know, just a small thing, besides the EU, which is just implementing their scheme, do you know what all of these countries have in common? The USA and Canada and New Zealand and the UK. It's weird because there are, I've spoken to a friend of mine who makes videos also from Canada, and he often describes the world as being 3 unions. There's NATO, there's the European Union, and it's Five Eyes. That's what you generally consider to be the Western world, right? And weirdly enough, the Five Eyes thing is really just saying the Anglosphere. All of the Anglo countries have this weird commonality on how they view immigration and how they view people entering the country. And now that's been solidified with the UK finally joining the ETA club. Would the world be a better place if you didn't have to pay to travel? Yes. Is that something which is going to happen? Probably not. But I want to say, Anglosphere unity, charging people to enter your countries and somehow still getting away with it, seems to be the one thing we have in common. So if you're from somewhere in the Anglosphere, congratulations. We charge people to, you're gonna charge me $10 to get into your country, I'll charge you £10 to get into mine, and then the money will all equal out and we'll all just, I don't know, have a lot of tourism ads for each other. It'll be great. Alternatively, if you're from Canada, Australia, or New Zealand, have you looked into Kanzuk yet? We should totally form a little, you know, we could have one fee and split it across all 4 countries. Look into it. I'm just saying, if you have an elected official who would like to officially vote to merge with the UK, I'll vote for my elected official who will vote to merge for your country, and we'll get this done. It'll be great. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. You're looking wonderful today. Oh yeah, you really, you know, I can tell that you've had I can tell things have been going well for you today, and I hope that you keep looking beautiful, because I'll see you next time. Just kidding, second channel, don't care. Give me money on Patreon, I called you nice things. Oh, goodbye. What is this map?